Hi, beautiful people. My name is Mutua Mutuku. I am many things together. Let's say I'm a complex man. That's the proper way I would define myself. I'm an advocate of the High Court. That's the boring stuff. The beautiful stuff is I enjoy other things. I enjoy art. I enjoy reading. Um, I enjoy polo. I enjoy chilling with dogs, pets, plants. Like it's a whole concoction of being a human being, and I'm all that together. But what puts money on my table? Chasing people in court. Yes, and welcome to this beautiful show, Book Lovers by Wacera. Yeah, and I'm honored to be here. And I've always enjoyed reading books. It's a culture that I inherited from so many people. I'm one of those people you call a society person. Uh, I grew up from a family that is. I grew up knowing books the entire time. We always had books in our family, and then the schools I went up to, there was a lot of reading. So I got introduced to books at a very early age. Like when was that? I think I was 10. I think I was 10 or so. And also the bias that what I got introduced to, I think that was what I've consistently carried up to now. There were two teachers I will never forget. One is called Teacher Njagi. He's a guy who introduced me to classics, African classics. And this is how he did it. I remember he came to one English lesson and he said, he was introducing three books from, they end up being my favorite books of all time. So he came and said, this is how he introduced it. He said, when the river between, that's the river between by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. When the river between floods, the son of man is no longer at ease. That's no longer at ease by Chinua Achebe. Consequently, things fall apart. Then things fall apart is now a book. So it's like, oh, bloody, this is so amazing. So that's, such small things kept on. It's chips that are falling in place. Then there was another guy who's called, I think, Francis Auma. He's a proper activist now. So he was now the political side. He's like, hey, read this, read this, read this, read. So that's my beautiful reading journey. And then from there, the world opens up to you. Yeah. So I remember the first book I completed was I think Moi's autobiography, and I did that when I was very young, and my mother couldn't understand why you reading this. Yes. So that has been my reading journey, and I enjoy it entire time. And if you're my friend, Sundays you don't come to my house because it's a day that I've blocked. I've blocked it for specifically chill in bed, make breakfast, get a book. We're not switching on the phone, we're not switching on the TV, we're just reading. Yes. I've read so much of Ngugi. I've even read the books in Koyu. Oh, so what I normally do if I go to a new place. So I'm fluent in Kao, I'm fluent in Meru, and now I'm a bit, I know a bit of Koyu. I can speak here and there, and I can read it. So I remember reading Matigari. It was Matigari. Then Gahika Neda. That's I will marry when I want. And it set me into a different ball game altogether. Because that's when I discovered guys like Professor John Beatty, who did a bit of translated so much in Cow that made me go back to Julius Caesar, who translated these two books. I'm a huge fan of also Shakespeare. He translated what's the name? Two books: Merchant of Venice, Mabepari of Venice, and Julius Caesari. Yes, yes. So it gets you into a different ball game altogether. So Ngugi is my person. So Ngugi, or Wacera um, Chinua. Kwanza you get the trilogy. Uh, the Man of the People, the Arrow of God, no longer at ease, and things fall apart. Yes, the Okonko story, from it's and then you just ask yourself, how can you not love that? Like it's so beautiful hearing these African stories being told by African authors in a very beautiful, hilarious way that you can relate. Yes, I don't know how to put it. I read so much, and I sometimes you're not even reading one book at a go, because at times now I'm reading 1984 by George Orwell, and at the same time I'm reading The Big Conservation Lie by Ogada. So at any given time, I could be reading one or two books together. Yes. So that is what I'm currently reading. I just know that so many people that I read, but the ones I can remember now is let me the guy we can't afford not to mention is called Joe Hamisi. He's written so much um, about the politics and the other side of Kenya that guys never tell you about. So he's written Looters. I think that's the book that everyone copyrighted, and guys just were just sharing it via WhatsApp without caring about the copyright. He did The Politics of Betrayal. He did the book about his people from Rabai. That's one of the writers that I really love. We also have I love Karl Marx. I think the 18th Brumaire of Napoleon. And now you relate that book to there's a song by Coldplay, Viva la Vida. So that book and that song, there's such a huge connection. And then there's a book called Brothers Karamazov by that the Russian guy is called Fyodor. I just I just know the book is called Brothers Karamazov. Just go and read it. It's a whole, I think, 700 pages, but it's you sit down, you don't want to let it go. Yes, and for fiction, I love a guy called Michael Connelly. He did. There's a book called The Lincoln Lawyer, and it's been made into a movie as well. I think it's Matthew McCartney. Yes. So such kind just make my days. Yes. I just shop books from anywhere. Like I'm just going over in the street and I find a guy who's stocked some books over there and they're very interesting. I just buy them. And the worst part is that books are my biggest addiction. Books and other things that I won't mention over the camera. But yes, books take a lot of. They're the things that make me bankrupt. And I used to lend books a lot. Then got to a point where it gets to a point you realize, man, I'm missing. I think the last time I did a count, I realized I'm missing 27 books. And out of those 27, there's one book that I will never get over. It's called There Was No Country by Chinua Achebe. Okay, if you're watching this series and you're the one who has a book, actually just return that book. So I stopped giving out my books. It comes a point you realize, there's so much that is not here that is supposed to be here. So let me read. If you want to come to my house and read from there, perfect. However, from there, no, I'm not giving out my books anymore. And yeah, so shopping just anywhere. Reading, I wake up many times, so I've developed a habit where, because of this rat race, I wake up at 4. I always try and ensure that at 4 a.m. I'm up, read for a bit for like 2 hours, and I read some things that I'm not. I read what I don't practice. Like you never see me actually seated down and reading a good book. For me, that's abnormal. I want to know the other side because I do law 8 to 5. I want to see the other side, which is supposed to be the fun side, which for me it's in the box. So yeah, that's just wake up, read. Sundays, block them. Yeah, and then there are guys I haven't mentioned. There's a book called Not Yet Uhuru by the first vice president. Beautiful book. And I also love what Murumbi has done. Oh, Joseph Murumbi had the best collection of both art and books. Like, if you're a Kenyan and you want to, you have a fluid mind, visit the, it's, I call it the Murumbi trilogy. It's the Murumbi Trust in just around GPO. Um, the archives, Kenya Archives, then there's African Heritage House. You will see so much from arts. Like, this is someone who's kept books. Like, he donated an entire library to the government of Kenya. So if those are some of the people that sit down and are thinking, this guy in the 60s, he was doing this. 60s. And here we are in 2021, guys don't even read. And you're asking yourself, kuna shida mahali. So here's the thing, I have never reconciled, or rather I find it difficult to define the thing we call African writing, for the simple reason that many of our stories were never documented. It was a lot of oral literature that was passed from generation to generation. So the people who documented them, they documented them with a certain bias. So many of our stories, there's a bit of our stories that died. And if you go back, I'll keep mentioning some of the people. If you're watching this, you'll keep hearing a lot of Wole. There was a lot of if you remember, there was a kind of a beef between Wole and Professor Ali Mazrui, where one was talking about Wole telling him, "Oh, you can't claim to be African, yet you profess a certain religion. This is foreign to us." And that guy is telling him, "You know what? Blah blah." It's there's a lot of that. So that there's so many stories that have not been told, or they've been told in a certain bias. And then you come to realize also that I could be a first generation or second generation Jungu, but I mean, I'm a white skinned person, but I'm African, like I'm Kenyan, and they've written some of the stories, beautiful stories. A guy like Murumbi was gone, half Masai, but he's documented a lot for us. So I really struggle with what is African, what is not African. And man, it's a debate that will never. It's one of those debates where you say, you know what, let's agree not to disagree, and whichever way we find it. So yeah, and then many times, facts will always be facts. I was born in this time. You can't change that. So if someone is documenting that, whether with a certain bias or not, it's always going to come out at a certain point. Yeah. So for me that's a whole conclusion, a debate that will never have an answer to. And this is why you say Selavi, to each their own. And what I'm loving is we have a new generation of people where everything has just changed. These people don't really give a hoot. They're not conservative. They're saying, you know what, us guys are going to do our stories the way we want them, from music to writing. Because you're just looking at someone, how they're writing, and you're like, wow. Oh, so I think the future is so bright. We have guys here who are interrogating. We have guys who are going back to their roots. There's so much shift. Like guys are telling you know what? Let me go back home. I want to know what my people used to do. I want to I want to go and speak to my grandmother. I want to know their ways. Here I am. I just want to have the entire holistic understanding of who I am as a person, as an African, where I came from. So the future is so bright for everyone. And moving forward, the thing I would tell people is have a fluid mind. Having a just it's it was Socrates or Aristotle who I think said you can hold a thought, you can hold, it's called what, you can hold a thought without entertaining it. Open up your mind, wait, sinavi sherekea masomo. I mean, kusoma masomo ni jambo la maana. Kaa chini, unasherekea, unasafiri, unaenda kwa safari nyingine ndefu, unaweza kuona jinsi watu wengine wa huko wanaishi, wanasoma, unaingia kwa dunia yao bila kujua. And out of that, you're able to pass certain ethos to those who come after you. And if you're biased like me, I'm allowed to speak in Ngong. Yes, and if you're a guy like me who believes in certain things, no sio kemusi udio kasome, we kalendi na ndomaku, nimanga kie ni choteka, bukolwe nundu andomaku, neka, nendo minyoro, kedhawe mundu wito no manga kila nasia, right?